Huntsville, Alabama, a city where the sound of rocket engines was just as common as V8s roaring down side streets. Aubrey Lang grew up between them both. Her father was a propulsion technician at NASA's Marshall Space Flight Center, and her mother owned a small-town auto shop. While other kids played video games, Aubrey learned how to identify a faulty fuel pump just by the way the engine breathed. By the time she was 27, she was the lead mechanic at Lang Auto and Performance, specializing in American muscle cars. But her real claim to fame wasn't her resume, it was her ears. Aubrey could diagnose most engine problems by sound alone, a gift her colleagues jokingly called mechanic echolocation. One hot July afternoon, as sweat beaded on her brow and classic rock buzzed through the speakers, a flatbed truck rolled into the shop. On the back sat a rust-covered 1981 Dodge Challenger, long neglected and lifeless. The driver, a reserved man in his 60s named Mr. Duncan, stepped down and handed her a key. "Found it locked in my brother's barn out in Tennessee," he said. "It hasn't run in decades. Think you can bring it back to life?" Aubrey turned the key. The Challenger groaned awake for 2 seconds before dying completely. But that was all it took. Her brow furrowed. "That's not right." She asked her team not to touch it yet. That engine noise, it wasn't a normal sputter or a misfire. Something in the rhythm stood out, a strange pulse beneath the chaos, metallic and unnaturally even. That night, she took the audio recording home and ran it through her custom sound mapping software, a tool she used to analyze combustion patterns and harmonic frequencies. What she discovered made her heart skip. There was a repeating signature hidden in the noise, not random, but structured. A triple beat loop in the sub-bass range. It wasn't mechanical wear, it was a pattern. Her curiosity piqued. Aubrey posted a snippet of the waveform to a private online forum frequented by audio engineers and retired NASA staff. She included only one line of text. "Anyone ever heard something like this inside a car engine?" Within hours, replies flooded in. Most were dismissive. But one caught her eye. It read, "That pulse matches low-frequency communication patterns used in Cold War telemetry tests. This isn't engine trouble. It's something else." Attached was a declassified document from 1982, referencing an abandoned program called Project ECHO, which explored using vibrations instead of radio waves to send messages across long distances, even through solid structures. Aubrey didn't sleep that night. She knew what she'd heard wasn't normal. The next morning her phone rang, a number from the 256 area code. The voice on the other end spoke with calm urgency. "Ms. Lang, this is Dr. Helen Ramirez from NASA. We need to talk about that engine." Aubrey arrived at the garage early the next morning, expecting maybe an email or follow-up call. She did not expect a black SUV with tinted windows pulling up outside. 2 women stepped out, one in a NASA badge labeled Windbreaker, the other in plain clothes. The woman in the windbreaker stepped forward and offered a firm handshake. "Dr. Helen Ramirez, NASA Propulsion and Legacy Systems. You must be Aubrey Lang." Before Aubrey could speak, Dr. Ramirez nodded toward the Dodge Challenger. "Play me the sound." Aubrey connected her tablet to the diagnostic speaker system and hit play. The garage filled with the low, grinding engine start-up, followed by the metallic rhythm she'd isolated. Dr. Ramirez's expression darkened. "That's not engine noise," she said quietly. "That's a coded pulse." Aubrey blinked. "You've heard it before." Ramirez gave a slow nod. "We thought all traces were destroyed, but your audio confirms it. That's a Project ECHO signature." As Aubrey and the team looked on, NASA technicians arrived and began scanning the vehicle. Within 30 minutes, they found it, a cylindrical metal device embedded in the engine block. Not attached, fused. It looked like it had been part of the car since day one. "It's a vibration-based transmitter," Ramirez explained, part of a Cold War experiment. In the early 80s, the Department of Defense tried developing a communication system that didn't rely on standard radio. Something untraceable. They tested it using military vehicles, satellites, and apparently, this Challenger. They moved the device to a portable isolation box and ran the frequency through a decoding tool. What came out was not a test signal, not background noise. It was a message. They're listening. Keep the engine running. Ramirez turned pale. This wasn't just a field test. This was an operational transmission. Someone knew what they were doing. What followed was a blur. Agents from an unnamed federal agency arrived. Mr. Duncan was questioned. He had no idea what his brother had been involved in. Records eventually linked the Challenger's original VIN to a government facility in Nevada. The car was taken. So was the transmitter. Aubrey expected to be silenced or at least told to forget everything. But instead, she was offered a position, contract-based, with NASA's Legacy Tech Division. They wanted her skills, her ears. What you discovered, Ramirez said, could have been lost forever. We've got projects that need minds like yours. Ones that don't rely solely on machines. Weeks later, Aubrey sat in a NASA lab, surrounded by old prototypes and forgotten hardware. She still thought about that Challenger. Who had installed that device? What were they trying to say? And most importantly, who had been listening? Somewhere out there, an engine had carried a secret for over 40 years. And only one mechanic in Alabama had heard it clearly.